Hi there, welcome back to your Apatros review. In this episode, one of our Arthouse Atrocities, Borderline Cult, directed by Ulli Lommel in the year 2007. Hi there, welcome back to your Apatros review, your guide to the wild world of science fiction, action, and horror cinema with me, your host, Mila Sipka. If you want to spell my name, just look at the channel. Now in this episode, we take another Arthouse Atrocity, probably the last one for this year, I think. And this film is Borderline Cult, directed by Ulli Lommel in the year 2007. It is direct-to-video, and it came out in the US on the 21st of August 2007. So pretty much 6 days before I did this video, the film would have had its 14th anniversary. Now this was originally released in Australia by Peacock Films, rental-only label that went defunct with the end of the rental market. Later acquired by, along with just about all of Ulli Lommel's post-millennial catalogue, by Flashback Entertainment, and issued as both a single release and one of their multi-pack parts. No supplement on any of these releases. Now, there exists a certain type of moviegoer who believes that if a film has numerous superfluous shots of the wind blowing through trees, or having constant dialogue about pointless topics, that makes the film seem intelligent, and therefore of a higher quality of film than your average popcorn or exploitation film. These types of films are regarded as art house, and are the type of film that many critics who consider themselves as sophisticated regard as grown up and thus in their minds superior to the types of film that us normal viewers tend to watch. The reality is that art house films are highly experimental, highly pretentious, have a disregard for telling stories the proper way, and tend to have a hatred for regular people, as well as in many cases pushing extremist political agenda in stealth fashion. Art house films are in fact inferior to regular films, such as the irony of the art house genre. So here we are, back with what I hopefully believe is the second last Ulli Lommel post-millennial art house horror junk we're going to see on this show. Borderline Cult. The last will be Zodiac Killer, which it will not be considered art house atrocity since I actually believe that film to be Lommel's best post-millennial film. Not terribly saying that much. And any further Lommel films will be his pre-millennial works, which are way better than these post-millennial nasties that Lommel made in the twilight of his life. Speaking of nasties, if Borderline Cult was made a quarter of a century earlier, it would have gained a cult reputation as a bona fide video nasty in the early 1980s Britain, and probably one of those films that Quentin Tarantino probably would like to check out if it was made at that time. And by the way, many of the films that were featured on the British Director of Public Prosecution's list of 72 titles were just scuzzy films that should never have had the infamy attached. There are a lot of low-budget dreck on that list. In the case of Borderline Cult, here we have a fictional thesis by Lommel on the mysterious phenomenon of the hundreds of women being murdered in Ciudad Juarez, a border town between Mexico and the USA, implying that all these women were murdered by a trio of sociopaths, a bisexual prostitute acting as a lure, a bald psychopath who looks like the result of Drew Carey ever decided to become a serial killer, and a dark poet who acts as an undertaker, burying each victim in an absurdly shallow grave. We're only talking about graves like about maybe a foot deep, with a grave marked with a piece of the victim's clothing or one of their belongings, who eventually decide, after icing a grand total of 420 victims, to part ways amicably and leave the house they've been using as a base of operations to avoid anybody discovering their presence, while the narrator over the closing credits claims that these three are the most prolific killers in history. As if. In reality, organized killing groups like the Nazis, ISIS, and the Chinese Communist Party have killed a shitload more people, both directly and indirectly through their ideological followers, than any team-up of serial killers could possibly manage. Technically speaking, the film is ridiculously rough. Being shot on cheap digital video, the photography has a rare shot that does show some style, but the hideous frame rate and poor resolution makes watching this a real chore, even for die-hard VHS fanatics like myself. In fact, I actually printed this on VHS as part of a test, and it honestly looked like an underground snuff film. Despite only being issued on DVD, this definitely deserved to have a VHS release, as that would be the perfect medium for something as nasty as this. The makeup effects are, as part for the course for a Lommel film, completely atrociously amateurish. Lommel seems to have a real distaste for decent practical gore effects, and given the most blood you'll see just as few smears of the fakest looking $2 tube cheap Halloween store blood makeup you'll ever see. Hell, he could even be using tomato ketchup for all we know. And Lommel's modus operandi of telling a story about serial killers by using his infamous lava rinse repeat method of storytelling basically showing a murder being committed, then repeating the scenario several times over the course of the film without any sort of variation, does test one's viewing patience. That being said, I will be giving this film one concession that effectively elevates it from the D-1 out of 10 gutted most Lommel films stand on to a D, 2 out of 10. That is that the film's method of making itself resemble a foul documentary of sorts on the lives of three highly disturbed and extremely dangerous individuals, practically begging to be caught, does give borderline cult a certain effectiveness, making it sort of like a middle-of-the-road Ulli Lommel post-millennial flick. If you want to make the most of this, simply print a copy of this in VHS or cheap DVD-R, remove the credits, invite your friends over and tell them you found a real-life snuff film. Purely for a joke, of course. Up to 80 minutes of watching this, they'll honestly believe you. By the way, despite snuff filmmaking being a concept that has been around for decades, there have been no documented cases of real snuff films ever existing. And I do not condone snuff filmmaking at all. I prefer to source my death and destruction ethically. That is all purely make-believe. It's all fun and games unless somebody gets hurt for real. And nobody wants people to get hurt for real. Now for gore and nudity, there's only a smattering of the fakest looking stage blood you'll ever see. Like I said, Lommel is quite uncomfortable with gore effects and no nudity. Now I kind of lost my disc of this film, but I actually made a copy of it before. This is the Flashback Entertainment release. And 185 ratio, very bad picture quality. Then again, that's the original photography, not the DVD's fault. Stereo sound and no supplement. Okay, that's it for Borderline Cult. And by the way, actually, this film actually turned 14 years old 6 days before I did this video. The lockdown is still going on, day 63. Sucks. Anyway, I hope you guys are staying safe. Take it easy. And I do not do requests, but if you want to know if I have a particular film in my collection, just hit me up in the comment section, I'll answer. Also, if you have any questions about DVDs, or if you want to know certain genres of film you want me to check out in the sci-fi, action, or horror genres, just hit me up in the comment section, I'll answer. Okay, hope you guys are staying safe, take it easy, and that's it for this review. See ya.